Right now, we get to enjoy the sport of watching both Vasil and the Merge happen within days of each other. To me, it feels a little like driving home from work one night and noticing that your neighbors are having some kind of crazy celebration, some kind of big party. The conversation would probably go something like this. Hey neighbors, what's going on over here?
Bruh, you're not gonna believe this. The wife and I worked so hard this year that we can now afford indoor plumbing.
Wow. You you didn't have indoor plumbing this whole time? Okay. Okay, that's great. Good for you guys. I'm looking around though. I'm not seeing any light bulbs. Have you guys thought at all about also looking into electricity?
Bruh, do you have any idea how dangerous that is? Since we're not insane, we'll just stick with the candles over here, alright? Enjoy your electrocution death.
This is pretty much Cardano preparing for Vasil while Ethereum goes for the merge. Ready? Let's go. Today, we're going to discuss the timing of the merge and Vasil, an arrest warrant out for a now infamous crypto founder, the US Treasury clarifying its stance on Tornado Cash, a free airdrop you may already qualify for, and Atala Prism seeing some interesting adoption. If you've been involved in one of North America's super crazy housing markets over the last couple of years, and upon seeing this image, you thought to yourself, actually, this doesn't look so bad. I kind of like teal. Or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Well, here we are, guys. It looks like we're just hours away from Ethereum's merge, according to the Bordell website. And we're at 7 days and change until Cardano's Vasil hard fork combinator event, according to this countdown timer at cardanowithpaul.com. After all these years, it's almost amazing to think that Ethereum's going to reach proof of stake and Cardano's going to reach a widely usable and highly advanced smart contracting system within days of each other. I don't think anyone would have predicted these two events occurring so close in time. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that you usually only become what you actually set out to become. And it's looking like this is as true of blockchains as it is of human beings. If you set out to create a proof of stake system crippled by the custodial demands of slashing, if you set out to create a smart contracting language that will never be as highly verifiable as a lot of its major competitors, you'll probably end up getting those things. But on the other hand, if you set out to build a proof of stake system where custody is king and the user's custody of their own assets is unassailable, if you set out to create a language that is premised on the ideal of high verifiability, formal verification, if you set out to build these things, that might just be what you end up getting. And I think we're going to see this play out with Ethereum and Cardano. Ethereum is older. It has more users. It has a bigger community. But what could be dreamt of at the founding of Ethereum was a very different level of achievement versus what could be dreamt of at the founding of Cardano, or what was dreamt of at the founding of Cardano. It was a different set of architectural decisions. We're seeing that play out now. The team that brought Ethereum to the merge, very, very smart, very, very capable, but they had to operate within the confines of decisions that were made a long time ago. Cardano reaching Vasil is the product of architectural decisions that were made in a different era of crypto. An era of crypto where you could dream of being a Gen 3 blockchain, not just a Gen 2 blockchain, but a true Gen 3 blockchain. So the fundamental decisions at the founding of Cardano were very different than those at the founding of Ethereum. Slowly after these two events, the whole world is going to see what it looks like when you're purpose built from the ground up to be a Gen 3 blockchain versus what it looks like when a Gen 2 blockchain tries to transition into Gen 3. It looks like the inevitable has happened. This headline says South Korea court reportedly issues arrest warrant for Terra founder Do Kwon. Look at how smug he looks laying on that couch in the office. The implosion of the Terra platform in May led to combined losses of approximately $60 billion between UST and its sister cryptocurrency Luna. UST, a controversial stablecoin that was meant to be pegged at 1 to 1 in the US dollar, decoupled from its target price in mid-May and triggered a broader cryptocurrency sell-off that the digital sector has yet to recover from. True. Never forget that Mike Novogratz got a Luna tattoo. It all probably seemed so reasonable back then. I do hate to see anybody in crypto get arrested, but it is good to see a rebalancing and some repercussions when things are taken so far out of balance. When a project gets so crazy that it doesn't make sense to anybody. If I have my choice between an industry where complete nonsense reigns all the time versus one where eventually things balance out and make sense after periods of temporary insanity, I'll definitely choose the latter. Speaking of utter nonsense, it looks like some other of its ilk has been put to rest. The Treasury finally came out with this guidance. They said, while engaging in any transaction with Tornado Cash or its blocked property or interest in property is prohibited for U.S. persons, interacting with open source code itself in a way that does not involve a prohibited transaction with Tornado Cash is not prohibited. For example, U.S. persons would not be prohibited by U.S. sanctions, regulations from copying the open source code and making it available online for others to view, as well as discussing, teaching about, or including open source code in written publications, such as textbooks, absent additional facts. Similarly, U.S. persons would not be prohibited by U.S. sanctions or regulations from visiting the Internet Archives for the Tornado Cash historical website, nor would they be prohibited from visiting the Tornado Cash website if it, again, becomes active on the Internet. This makes sense, but it's also to clarify something that could come up in a judicial challenge as to freedom of speech type interests with the publication of code. I would love to think that this is just the U.S. Treasury being reasonable, but it probably has a lot to do with fears of a freedom of speech challenge to their sanctions against Tornado Cash. If they make it clear right now that publication of the code is not the problem, that teaching, discussing, making it available, those things are not a problem, then they make it a lot less likely that, some judiciary could become interested in sustaining freedom of speech challenge to this OFAC designation of Tornado Cash. Prepare to receive tokens. It looks like NFTmaker.io is going to execute on an airdrop. So it's an airdrop of their NMKR tokens, and this is all going down at nmkr.io/airdrop. Following that link, you find this page with this Claim Now button. When you hit that button, you get a little box to drop either your normal address, your stake address, or an ADA handle that you have in that address. And when you hit continue, the next page says, hey, give us your email address and subscribe, basically. It's a little bit unclear whether or not you actually have to give them the email address or if just putting your wallet address in this little dialog box right here is enough. I'm hoping that you don't actually have to put your email address in, because I don't know about everybody else, but I'm not like super eager to associate my email address with my various crypto addresses. I guess you could go and create a throwaway email and associate that. But even that, I'd rather just keep my emails and my email addresses and my crypto addresses separate. So we'll see how it is. But one good thing is that you can use multiple wallets, multiple addresses. One thing I think everybody's figuring out is that when you do that, if you go in here and you put in one address, it says you can only enter one address at a time. You hit continue. And then if you want to put in a new one, if you just hit claim now, it's just going to take you to a box that says, thank you, we'll be in touch or something like that. You've actually got to refresh the page in between each address. Of course, this only works if your address contains an NFT that was actually minted using one of the iterations of an NFT Maker. But Patrick Tobler of NFT Maker has this to say: every single NFT that was minted through NMaker Studio or NFT Maker version 1 is eligible. That means if you own an NFT on Cardano, there's about a 25% chance that you'll receive some NMKR tokens in this airdrop. Spread the word. Super interesting. I was always curious how many overall of the NFTs on Cardano were minted using some iteration of NFT Maker, and it looks like this is the answer. If you've been curious what's happening in the US housing markets, this might be relevant to you. So bankrate.com tells us that for today, Thursday, September 15th, 2022, the current average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is 6.24%, up 13 basis points the same time last week. If you've been in the housing market at all over the last couple of years, you know that this is much, much higher than it was just a few years ago. And your initial reaction is probably, if you have been looking for a house, your initial reaction is like, great, hopefully this will help temper the demand side of the housing market curve a little bit. Hopefully people will be a little bit less ravenous to gobble up every single house that comes on the market, at least if you've been in one of the super overheated markets in certain parts of North America. But at the same time, if you are in the market for a house, you see this and you think to yourself, great, this mortgage just got so much more expensive if I do end up buying a house. Of course, we're only covering this here because if you were an adult in 2007, 2008, you already understand how intertwined the housing market is with a lot of our other asset markets. And this time around, that'll even include crypto. Finally, we saw this post. Happy news, Cardano community. Cardano Atala Prism has been selected as part of the future digital infrastructure development in Japan. When SMEs apply for grants from the government, this is used to prove the existence of the company. And we can see here it's project number 8. When we follow the link, we find this page, which I've already Google translated. It says, announcement of the adoption results of the use case demonstration project for the realization of the trusted web. A total of 32 applications were received for the use case demonstration project for realized trusted web. As a result of rigorous examination of documents by external committee members, hearing examinations, and examination committees, 13 proposals were selected. And the one involving Atala Prism is number 8. And if we click on this link, that link takes us to this PDF. And I cannot read any of this, but I can read this tiny little section down here, which does in fact mention both Cardano and Atala Prism and IPFS as part of this block, I think, in this diagram that says trusted web. Thank you to Marco Mirman for pointing this out. I'm going to go ahead and take the Sake stake pools interpretation of this as golden here. They say that this is part of the future digital infrastructure development in Japan. I think this is great news because we've got the rollout of the Atala Prism solution in Ethiopia, but we hadn't yet seen anything that looked like a big rollout of a Cardano-based digital identity solution, at least not Atala Prism, in any already developed countries. And here we see something going on in Japan, which of course is one of the most developed countries in the world. So I think this is great news. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.